All right, checking 1 2 1 2. Check check check. Hey guys, so as been going on, um, I wanted to go through a series with you, and hopefully this continues. I kind of just go with what I feel in any given moment, and so right now, we're gonna be going over the evolution of consciousness. This is a part of I think, a 12-part series, and if you guys want, you guys can actually get these. Um, you can get all of this information from this website down here, Foundation for Conscious Development. I hope they don't mind if I kind of go through this stuff, but I found that it is very specific to, I think, what many of us are going through, and I think that um, the advancement of our consciousness and the advancement of our own awareness as it pertains to growing up and spiritual development is very important. So, with that being said, we're going to get right into it. And if you guys want to follow along, yeah, feel free to follow along. Again, this is my self empowerment journey. This is where I've gone. This is where all of this government, politics, information, this is where it's led me. And so I think that there might be something in it, a nugget of information or truth that might be helpful for you also. So basically, it's broken down into three chapters. We have the human experience and the new paradigm. We have the 7 levels of human evolution, and we have the being and non-being in mankind. We have some conclusions and then some training exercises. And again, use this at your own discretion. If there's something that you don't agree with, just put it on the shelf. But for the most part, the information is pretty concrete. Again, I said I have 2 books from these authors who are not as well known because they are I think a lot of their books are actually in Spanish. I think this is a Spanish organization, but I have found it to be particularly amazing in the way that they articulate their information. All right, as we go on, I'm going to read through this. If you guys want to listen, hope you enjoy it. So, Chapter 1, the human experience and the new paradigm. This theme, which broaches the evolution of consciousness, offers a new way of looking at life, a new paradigm that will let us be happier and understand human beings. You may wonder if you're willing to read it without prejudice. This information might ring a bell, or on the other hand, it might be the first time you read something of this sort. If you find it familiar, you should find it easy to delve deeper into the subject. And if you find it amazing and new, we encourage you to find out something about something very valuable that will make your life better. You don't have to agree with everything it says or believe any of it. Just put it into practice in your life and see what happens in light of the results. Decide if it is of any use to you. The main scientific method for measuring knowledge is through results. If the results inside you are happiness, peace, and harmony, you'll find this information to be true. And if the external results in terms of relationships, health, resource, and how you adapt to your environment improve, you will verify that this information is wisdom. Learning becomes understanding only through constant practice and the verification of results, which are what let us gauge whether or not a person knows. The purpose of human experience is to evolve, see how our own consciousness develops, and so be filled with love and wisdom. Each and every one of us has come to this world to work on our spiritual development, sharing and participating in experiences with other human beings. Life is actually a process in which the universe teaches us. The earth is our spiritual school, and each life experience can be compared to one academic year. Spiritual development is an internal task and therefore absolutely individual and personal. Nobody can do it for somebody else, nor can we do it without the others. We need to interact and share experiences with other people in order to achieve our own development. In other words, to know ourselves. Sometimes, instead of getting on with our own development, we try to interfere with other people's, and instead of learning from them, we try to change them. By doing so, we are distorting the learning process and end up complicating life even more. If we understand this, we can be efficient by asking ourselves what life wants to teach us in each situation, because each is a part of a learning process that turns ignorance into wisdom. At this point, most of us suffer from the learning experience rather than enjoying it. Yet learning is not synonymous with suffering, but instead means reaching love and happiness. When you notice that your suffering is disappearing, that your inner peace is becoming invulnerable, and that your capacity to create, love, and serve is expressed without any condition or restriction, it means that you are experiencing wisdom. Both human being and everything that happens in the universe works originates and is created from a piece of information, and evolving involves acquiring information that you don't have yet. In other words, evolution is developing your consciousness through your personality's experience. And this is what can turn a belief into truth after verifying it, or else discard it if it is found not to be true. And this is called understanding. And it is what the consciousness assimilates. That is why the consciousness does not let in beliefs, because it is an archive designed to only assimilate truths that have been verified and experienced within the experience of form. To put another way, the consciousness is an information file that assimilates the universe's truths and stores them so that they may remain permanent and immortal. The consciousness, therefore, is a timeless and incontaminable file. Our consciousness can store 1 trillion times more information than our personality can. Evolution occurs through forms, but it is not the form that evolves, but the consciousness within it. When we have no body on Earth, there is no evolution, which only occurs when the being is in contact with matter. Then the consciousness will keep on evolving. Apparently, the exterior changes, but it does not. Actually, it is we who evolve and change from within. There is a way of living in social structures that are far more harmonious and satisfying than existing structures, and not by changing the current social situation, but by changing on the inside. And so far as we forge ahead with our spiritual development, each of us is getting ready for another kind of civilization. Life is a path, and at any point in it there are walkers. Being at the starting point or at the end point depends on oneself, and the further we progress along the path, the more extraordinary things we will discover. Thus, the changes happen in the walkers, not the road. To be successful in the process of spiritual development, we need to gradually balance our energy with wisdom, since without energy it is impossible to handle wisdom. Matter can be turned into energy and vice versa when the wavelengths and vibrational frequencies change. We have to grow simultaneously in handling energy, because without wisdom we cannot store it. And we lose this through our fears, conflicts, and suffering. It is essential, therefore, to learn to handle energy to the same extent that we develop wisdom. Wisdom is acquired when we face a pedagogical design called destiny. Everything that represents some difficulty for us is an opportunity for learning, for the acquisition of wisdom associated with destiny. Consciousness develops through cycles of life and death. The first cycle is the active part of the process, where learning experiences take place from innocence, lack of information, false information in the mind, when you think you know, quote unquote, until we reach wisdom, which is the information from truth understanding. For its part, the cycle of death represents the passive part of the process, where the developments of consciousness achieved are assessed. The energy is restored, and all the processes for the next life cycle are renewed. It is not enough for the mind to read what we have just explained only once. The adult mind, to encode and internalize any information, needs to have it repeated at least 30 times. It is important to bear this in mind so that the readers do not despair if at first they don't understand something or don't agree with the information that is presented here. Every change takes time. We can see the evolution of each individual depending on their inclination or interest in information about spiritual development, since some development is necessary for the information of love to resonate and be of interest. So we're going to go into chapter 1.1. We'll talk about who are we. We'll see what we're doing on time after that. I don't want these to be super, super long, but I figure I'll put the information out, and if you guys vibe with it, then great. And if you don't, then okay, cool. So who are we? Are we a body, or do we, quote unquote, have a body? Actually, humans, or mankind, are divine consciousness or souls within a human experience. We are not human beings living through a spiritual experience, but rather divine beings having a human experience. Therefore, we are not a body with a spirit, but a spirit using a body. Developing a immortal divine essence, a perfect soul created by God. Consciousness is not human, but uses what is human. It is both daughter and son of God, and passes through the realms of the universe, animal, vegetable, material, with the purpose of taking information from the absolute, which is implicit and imprinted upon each kingdom. But consciousness is not animal. vegetable, or mineral. Nor is it human, but rather a divine spark using bodies within which it immerses itself to extract information. God is in all forms without being any of them. It is not a person, but an absolute spiritual essence, not physical, from an extremely high dimension, which we call ground zero. That is, without time or space. There is no need to ask who is God, but what is God? We can call him different things using a technical term. We could call him the absolute file of the universe, the absolute information. What information is in that file? What is necessary for creation, to manage it, to teach it, for the process of administration and of creation, besides the personal process for each of the children of God who are the very essence of being I am, which is in each of us and in all beings in the world. Ultimately, God is the original essence of everything that exists and takes place in the universe. Consciousness is never human. Rather, it assimilates human experience from personality. But it is the son, daughter of God, and will never cease to be so. Consciousness, or the soul, has to live through the human experience, inevitably to build its own evolution. Let's take an example to better understand the term consciousness and what we human beings are. Consciousness comes into the world to live through a human experience. When it arrives, it buys a car and hires a driver. The car is the body, and the driver is the personality, the belief system, the ego. Consciousness says to the driver, take this notebook, which is the empty mind, and walk along this path. I need you to take me from this point to this other one. That will be the passage of life. And in this book, note down everything that you learn along the way. While you're doing so, I'm going to take a nap. Consciousness then goes to the back seat and sleeps peacefully. The passenger only wakes up when the journey ends, what we call death, and takes the notebook, dismisses the driver, that is to say, the personality is dissolved, and returns the vehicle, the body. The consciousness is only left with the understanding, which the driver learned the way with. In the next human experience, it will hire another driver and another vehicle until it completes all truths. The driver, having traveled a good part of the way and having struggled, insulted, and suffered as the road presents difficulties, as other drivers cross his path, or because the engine broke down and had to be repaired, or in short, due to many problems that arise, gets out the notebook and writes, for example, X miles along the road, I understood something that I hadn't understood until then. That my suffering due to the road is useless because the only thing that resolved these situations was what I did to keep on going. Therefore, instead of suffering, I could have acted in total peace, inner peace. And so that is about 13 minutes of information. I guess I'll just maybe do a little summary. That we are the consciousness, guys, here having this earthly experience. And God, the source, the absolute infinity, infinity itself, that non-physical energy that created the world, that essence which we call God, which is formless and shapeless. Here we are materialized in this form, and we are sparks of the divine nature here in this physical realm. And we are here to have this, to take on this personality, this ego, which is called a vehicle of manifestation. Now, every single one of us has a soul, which is that divine spark. It is not God in the fullness sense, but it is an aspect of God here in this 3D universe. And each soul is trying to evolve, going through this world and going through each level of each kingdom, that is the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and into the human, which is the tetragrammaton of God, in which all the energy systems that are necessary in order to create and be in the form and image of God exist within us. And as God exists and endures by the power of the mind, so also do we endure and exist by the power of our minds. We have a soul that is, we are the Christ within us, the source, that thing, that the universe, whatever you want to call it, that center of our being, the angel that lives within us, the higher self, or the ego with a big E. These are all terms for it, and it has what is called a vehicle of manifestation that is comprised of your body, a physical body, a mental body, and an emotional body. And so that is where we have gotten so far. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys want me to keep on going, we can keep on continuing with this one, which is called the evolution of consciousness. And if not, we can move on to something different. But I figured I'd put this out there just so that way you guys understand and know for yourselves. So much love to you, and I hope to see you on that next video.